can you talk us through your evaluation, your touch points, whatever, with Jaxson Dart?
Yes. So, throughout the whole process, evaluating the quarterback prospects, obviously Jaxson was one of them, and a guy that we were really excited about. But yeah, being in there for the 30 visits, combine, kind of being around in there and just watching him operate there. Get him on Thursday, had a private visit with him. It was a very thorough process, and we did it with a bunch of different guys. And we're happy with Jaxson and the way he's been going. But it's a cool process to be able to go through that. Obviously, you get a guy that you really like and you really thinking has potential to do something. You take a shot on him, and I'm excited about Jaxson.
How late in the process did you know he was your guy?
I wouldn't say it was late. I'd say it was relatively early, just because you get the more touch points you have with him, the more your confidence you get, and the more you see him, fitting into your system and your scheme. And so, I felt really confident about how he operated, how he studied, how he prepared, how he handled himself. And then at the end of the day, his tape and the way that he performed in those meetings.
Mike, on that tape, what stood out to you in his game that really impressed
you? You watch a lot of it. You watch, I'm not going to get to all the details of it, but, you watch the explosive plays. You watch how he operates in 2-minute drills and under pressure, under duress. You see some of the off-schedule, off-platform plays that he has. And you kind of watch that together, and you put together a report. But those are the things that stood out to me. His ability to kind of, play within the pocket, play outside the pocket, be in a QB run game, things like that.
That said, Mike, you obviously had to wait through a draft night to see if you were even going to get him. What was that like for you?
You never really know how it could go. You don't know how those things are going to line up. But Joe and his staff had a really good plan. They did a great job and had a great draft. So, we're excited about the players we did add. Happy to have Jaxson and all the guys that we drafted. So, it's part of the process, part of the league, part of the NFL, and just another year of trying to put together a good squad and a good crew of guys.
You were part of Patrick Mahomes' early development in Kansas City. What did you learn from that, and how can you apply those lessons to helping Jaxson develop?
Yeah, I think whenever you draft a quarterback early, you want to have a plan or some semblance of a plan or schedule kind of put in place. Understand that it's not really a 1 week or it's a 6 month, 1 year, 2 year type plan. Really, for any quarterback, any player you get, you want to see what that player is going to be. Some point in the distance, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months in the future, like where his progress is at and where he should be. And that way, along the way, you can evaluate, is he on schedule? Is he a little bit further behind? Do we need to add or subtract certain things? And so that's no different than any position, but for the quarterback position, that's what you try to put together. And so I'm not going to get into the details of that plan, but that's what you want to look for. You try to put these little touch points on, okay, is he at this point come training camp? At the start of the season, where is he at with protections or assignments and things like that? So we try to put together a little checklist and a plan for every player, and the quarterback's no different.
How different will your role be with Dart as the OC, whereas with Mahomes you were QC, whatever your title was at that point? Just how different will your role be?
It'll just be different based on just the nature of my current position. Just being the quarterback coach. You're in that room with them. You're coaching them on just the specific job of the quarterback versus the offensive coordinator, putting the whole kind of picture together for the cues. But being in those meetings with the quarterbacks and explaining my intent for a play or my vision for what that play could be or what the offense would look like and how we're going to attack certain things, just being out in front of that with the quarterbacks is always good information.
Mike, how do you separate? You have the two veteran quarterbacks on the roster.
Yeah.
They're here to also learn the system, but also serve as a mentor. So how do you kind of separate what they do with Jaxson versus what the coaches do?
The great thing about having those veterans is that you don't really need to have to. They've all been young players. You don't really have to egg them to do anything outside of what they normally do. They're naturally just really good teammates, really good people, really good, preppers, and they study habits. So for Jaxson, it's about getting around those guys, seeing how they work, seeing how they ask questions, seeing how they're in the meeting room, see how they interact in the locker room with the players, the command they have in and out of the huddle. I think those are just great experiences to have. And when you have a veteran room and you throw Tommy in there as well, going on, year 3, year 4, like in the offense, like that's really good information, because a lot of guys are leaning on Tommy because he's been in it for so long. He knows kind of the ins and outs of it and kind of get guys up to speed. So we have 3 veteran guys. We have a young guy, a lot of great experiences amongst the coaching staff in that room as well. So it's been a fun room. So, so far this spring has been fun, and getting to learn everybody and, get them introduced to the offense.
How delicate of a balance is it, Mike, for you guys? You have an entire room, so obviously we've been asking you about Jaxson, and a lot of attention goes to Jaxson. But, you have to also prepare the other quarterbacks to be ready to play. And I know it's only June, but it seems like the closer you get to the season, the less time you get with the entire group, and the more focus has to be about playing games. So for you guys as a coaching staff, is there that delicate balance of making sure that every day you're intentional in terms of what you're trying to get out of your entire quarterback group, what you're seeing from 1, 2, 3, 4, if it's on depth chart, or that kind of approach? Yeah,
I mean, the planning that's done well in advance of the phases, you talk about it, and that's all absolutely takes into consideration how you script the plays, what plays you want to install, the emphasis of that day situationally. You look at that, you try to detail it out for the entire group. That way we're all staying the same schedule, right? And then what the rookies have that the vets don't have at this time is they get specific rookie time. So they get extra hours, kind of baked in during the middle of the day, at the end of the day when the vets aren't here because they're on a lot of time. So the rookies get a little bit extra time to work and get kind of the finer details and get caught up, to where sometimes the vets, we're rolling and we're going through stuff. So they have an opportunity to kind of sit back, take a deep breath, ask questions, and get caught up to speed.
Mike, Russ's career, we know what he did in Seattle. His career has kind of taken a dip in Denver, and certainly last year with the Steelers. So you guys signed him. What do you see in him as a 36-year-old veteran that you and the guys here can turn that back up and make him into a good starting quarterback?
Yeah, I see a lot of things in Russ, and things that I've watched from afar for a long time. In this time in Seattle, Denver, Pittsburgh, I mean, just the leadership, the command. You see that on the field. I think the players are responding to it. You see the competitiveness that he brings. You see the demeanor that he brings. I'm excited. Again, we're in phase 3, so we're working through a lot of this new offense for him, and he's played a lot of football. So a lot of these plays are similar to what he knows, just getting on the same page terminology-wise. But he's doing a great job, and I'm excited to have him. Appreciate to have him and what he's been to the offense.
Is there anything you've seen from Russ that you maybe can see better in person versus seeing him on tape, just him being around the rooms and everything?
Yeah, I've just watched him from afar, but being around him in the quarterback room, he's great. I mean, he has a really cool perspective. Just all of his experiences, playoff games, Super Bowl games, in-season games, late game, situations at the end of the game. Here, this happens, and it's great for me to bounce ideas off of, because he has a different perspective. He sees the game, differently, right? Because you've played a lot of ball, and all of a sudden he can, we can challenge each other on some of the games or situations and play calls, and just keep that open dialogue in terms of communication, not just with Russ, but with the whole quarterback room. And that's been great for everybody, because everyone has even Jameis. I mean, he's played a long time. He was an early pick. And, he has certainly a boatload of experience as well.
What do you expect the offense to look like with him?
Excuse me?
What do you expect the offense to look like with Russ? And is it going to be significantly different, given his skill set, maybe compared to what you had in the past with the other guys in the room?
Yeah, I think, when you look at the players, and right now in phase 3, we're evaluating guys. It's kind of a different camp, just by the nature of the physicality of it. Like, we're not in pads. So you miss an element of, the run game, the physicality. It's more of a passing camp and, more speed driven and developing the speed and strength aspect of it. But, right now we're evaluating our players based on the schemes we put in. We're trying to put them in good spots to get evaluation on what they can and can't do. We're putting a lot of installations in to see how much they can regurgitate and give back and show up and play fast and still have a lot of volume and test them on that. So now we know how much volume we can carry throughout the year, and know, all right, maybe this group can't handle this, or they can. We can continue to build on certain packages. But at the end of the day, right now in phase 3, we're coming together. We have a bunch of new guys that are new to the offense that we're trying to get caught up to speed, but also not take away the veterans that have been here and continue to add more to their plate.
Can
What
Evan
was
Neal?
the conversation like and your reaction when Dave said, for at least the spring here, it looks like you're calling plays again. What was your reaction to that, and do you think you'll be any different of a play caller now after a year off than you were the first 2 years?
That's a good question. I'd say, like, right now, whatever Dave needs me to do, that's what I'm going to do. You know, if he needs me to call plays, if he needs me to, you know, communicate with the quarterback, he needs me to do certain things, like, I'm going to do whatever he asks me to do. And so, you know, that's kind of the first thing I'd say. The next part of it is, you know, the learning. You're learning every year. You're learning and growing every year. So whether I'm learning from my experiences when I was calling it, when I wasn't calling it, other play callers across the league, you study them and their habits. So it's been, you know, I think each year, if you're not looking for that to grow as a professional, then you're not taking a step in the right direction. So I've always used that, whether it's phase 2, phase 3, the off season as that kind of that jumping point for me.
Can
Is that something you talked about at length with Dable?
Excuse me?
Is that something you talked about at length with Brian, the prospects of?
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
that
I'm
this
not going to
year?
get into like the personal conversations with him, but yeah, I mean, me and Dave's have open dialogue about a lot of things.
Just real quick, Evan Neal, can he be a good starting guard in the league?
Yeah, Evan's doing a nice job, and you see him transition. He did it in college, and again, it's just like kind of the nature of the camp. It's not a full padded camp, so but there is a lot of fundamentals you can work in the individual drills, the pass setting drills, and Evan's doing a nice job. I'm happy for him.